ranked player right now.
Yep. And here at Mace will be sacrificed. It's a volcanic island that Lossett will search up as he goes down to 19. Let's see where Joe wants to start. It'll be a Sensei's Divine Top, the most important card in his deck. Jessup's going to have to let that resolve. Treasure Cruise is the draw here for Danny. Danny with a mountain to lead things off. And now this is a Monastery Swift Spear. And then for one we go. So Lossett's going to go down to 18. Lossett will draw. No need to spin the top on his upkeep. Here's a Brainstorm. That will resolve. So 3 cards coming. Of course, 2 will be going back here for Lossett in just a moment. Coming into this match, Jessup was in 7th place, top of the standings at X4, while Lossett was in 10th place.
I do believe both of these players are locked with a win.
Yes. And due to the lower attendance for this particular invitation, about 278 players, X4 will get you into the top 8 this weekend. Brainstorm is done resolving. 2 cards have gone back. Lossett with a Tundra. And he will happily pass the turn back over to Jessup, who will untap his Monastery Swift Spear and Mountain and draw a card. Delver of Secrets is what he's picked up for the turn.
And just because there are softer records are allowed doesn't mean it's any easier, because all the good people still show up.
Yes. This is a Ponder. That is resolving. Take a look at a Force of Will, along with a Swift Spear and a Treasure Cruise.
Those might be the 3 cards Danny would have selected if he could have set this Ponder. I can't imagine him shuffling this away.
He's going to take a long look at the grip there.
Additional pressure, additional protection, and then a big end game payout in Treasure Cruise.
The trick is figuring out how you want to order them if you're going to keep them. And he's shuffling it away. A little surprising. Makes you wonder what's he looking for then.
Perhaps some sideboarded Red Blasts, if those are available.
Well, we got a mystery card coming nonetheless. It's a Delver of Secrets.
Ponder gives you so many different lines of play, but to me that felt, like I said, pretty close to the 3 cards you'd want to see there. So Danny's got a very specific plan in mind.
It'll be an attack for 2 there, as the Swift Spear was a little bit bigger thanks to the Ponder. One thing that Jessup has here is a very awkward mana base.
Yep.
With a mountain and an island. This deck needs its volcanics.
It's part of the reason that you've seen some people gravitate towards the black splash and cut the basics. There's an argument that this deck can't handle the basic lands to begin with because it has so many cheap red spells and so many cheap blue spells. When you have a couple of your basics in play, you just don't get to play very efficient Magic. And you're watching that on display here, where Danny was not able to follow up with a Delver of Secrets after his Ponder because he's on Mountain and Island.
All I'm saying is don't be above Steam Vents. Just one. That mountain is terrible. Don't be above Steam Vents. Here's a Delver. Imagine if that mountain was Steam Vents. I'd happily pay. I'd pay 5. I'd pay 5 life for that to be a Steam Vents right now if I was Danny.
I might rather play a Shivan Reef.
Oh, you can't search for the Shivan Reef, Patrick.
I'm just saying, I still might rather play the Shivan Reef.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I call Dara Lake.
This is a Terminus. Can I interest you in a Cascade Bluffs?
Yeah. A Temple of Epiphany.
There go the creatures. Let's see what the follow-up is here for Lossett. He is down a game, and time is not on his side. As here's a Brainstorm. 3 cards coming, of course, 2 going to go back, and that means that the 3rd card down from Sensei's Divine Top will be a new one.
Now, of course, a win is good for both these players.
Absolutely.
But a draw helps neither.
Yep.
Puts them both out.
I believe a draw is the last spot they would like to be in.
There we go, a Scalding Tarn. Go get yourself dual lands.
It's about time. Yep, but he will search one up here. So there is Volcanic. to make life a little bit easier here for Jessup. We'll see where he wants to go after this, though.
I think he still has a pretty threat-heavy hand. He's got at least a Delver of Secrets and a Young Pyromancer, so he's got some resources to rebuild with.
And there's the Young Pyromancer. Looks like Lossett may spin in response here. Pyroblast. Sensei's Divine Top among the cards he's looking at. Here's a Terminus, so he's happy just trying to trade 1 for 1. Miracle Trigger. He'll pay the 1.
And Danny's been gripping this Force of Will for a while, and he's got to figure out what's the card he wants to try to protect. It could be Young Pyromancer. He can try to have it be the Treasure Cruise. There's got to be something.
Yeah, Force of Will. Removing the Delver.
With Treasure Cruise in hand, he just kind of wants to cast whatever.
Just get some stuff in the graveyard.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what it is. Just cast something.
There's Red Blast. That'll take care of the Force of Will. That means Pyromancer's going to go to the bottom. Flooded Strand, pass the turn. Go back Jessup's way. He'll draw. Cataxian Probe. That's another card for the graveyard. He'll just hard cast it. Take a look at Lossett's hand. See if, oof.
Ooh.
Well.
We already got to see one Baneslayer Angel dub earlier today for Joe. Might make it 2.
I must have been against Team Redelver when I wasn't here. Oh,
yep.
Boy. Jessup going to draw a copy of Young Pyromancer. Baneslayer don't care about that.
And Danny might have to put up a good face here because the way his hand is right now, if Joe just goes for it, that's it.
That's clear for takeoff. And Joe's actually looking at a copy of Red Elemental Blast among the cards there, so he can even protect the Baneslayer Angel from a counterspell if he'd like.
He can also take land number 6, which means Daze is no longer a consideration.
Perhaps you take land number 6, leave the blast on top, so that you can draw towards that. Caracas is the draw.
For example, he can play the Caracas, cast it, leaving the Flood Strand available. He can put the top on top and draw the Red Blast if it comes to it. And if the Baneslayer Angel sticks, I don't think it really matters if Joe's top is gone. I know he would prefer to keep it, but Baneslayer Angel is... If True Name Nemesis is hard to beat, forget about this thing.
I'd prefer to keep the Baneslayer than a Sensei's Divine Top if both are in play. Joe's just trying to figure out if he's supposed to pull the trigger here. He's going to draw a card right now. And he's just going to let his top go.
Yeah, and he can do this with the Volcanic Island available, so he has access to Hydro or Red Elemental Blast as the situation warrants.
There's an island. I think we're going to see Caracas in a minute here. Yep. Well, it's time to go big.
Oh, yeah.
That thing is in there. Flying, First Strike, Lifelink, protection from demons and from dragons. It's real tough for Blue-Red Delver to beat.
Many decks.
True.
A bird strategy, perhaps.
Perhaps you've been on the other side of this before.
Yeah, Joe announced Baneslayer Angel, to which I responded with, "You expletive, 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 pick up my cards, sign the match slip."
I'm sure all positive words were said.
Oh, yeah.
Very complimentary.
I mean, all in jest, but you
Yes.
know. You can't just lock me, Joe. You got to make me look bad.
Well, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's important. I prefer if he would have done it with something a little less good, like a Seraph of Dawn.
A Resolute Archangel.
Yeah, 2 points at a time. There's a Young Pyromancer.
Joe doesn't care about that.
Nah, I wouldn't either.
There's a lot of things that Young Pyromancer could race, but Baneslayer Angel ain't one of them.
Terminus was the draw for the turn. Oddly enough, no interest in miracling that.
We'll hold on to that one.
Yeah. Joe with some nice 1 mana removal there in Hydro Blast or Elemental Blast. Jessup looks like he's going to cast a Price of Progress here on the end of turn. It's a pretty healthy one if it does resolve.
Now the question is Joe willing to use a Hydro Blast on anything that doesn't kill the Baneslayer Angel? This is a lot of damage.
Yep.
Joe can still probably raise. I think that he wants to ideally save the Hydro Blast to protect, let's say, 2 Lightning Bolts that are going after the Baneslayer Angel. So I think Joe will probably let this one go, even though it's a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think if I'm in Joe's situation, that's how I would want to assess the situation, which is, okay, I'll take 6. It's annoying, but also Danny takes 2 and put himself on a 2-turn clock now.
Now, I think that if Danny untaps and has a second Price of Progress, Joe will stop it there.
Sure.
Then he'll counter it.
Sure.
But I think he wants to save the Hydro Blast for bolts if he can.
Ponder the draw. That's the Ponder. It's probably going to resolve, though the Shuri of the Young Pyromancer is the first thing to go here. And perhaps not. Lossett looks like he'd like to have a battle over this. Red Elemental Blast. Take care of that. See what the follow-up is here. Aha!
This was the risk of fighting over a Ponder.
You cruise, you lose. Trigger. 3 cards coming. Jessup might be able to work his way back into this one. Though those aren't the best 3 cards I've ever seen.
I don't know. Right now, he's just treading water. It looks confirmed to resolve the Treasure Cruise, but he's dead in 2 turns.
Yeah. 10-10. There's a Tarn. Here's a Delver. Kick it back over to Lossett. Arid Mace of the draw. In for 5. Lossett to 15. Jessup down to 5. You see Jessup's hand. Another copy of Treasure Cruise and a Lightning Bolt.
I mean, Danny needs to flip this Delver just to be able to chump block.
He's going to end a turn, fire off a Lightning Bolt, go at Joe's head, make another Young Pyromancer token. Lossett's going to go down to 12. Delver, flip. Okay.
Uh-oh. Now, Joe still has that Hydro Blast.
He does still have that Hydro Blast. I think you want to draw that one if you're Jessup.
Checking to see if he has anything to get a Baneslayer Angel, a Dismember or something of the sort in the sideboard. Doesn't appear so.
Jessup does not want to draw it. He'll go to 4. There's a good chance that Danny knows the information about what's in Joe's hand.
Yeah.
That he does have a copy of Hydro Blast from an earlier Taxing Probe.
So he's just playing towards a blue card.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, Cruise in hand. 3 cards in the graveyard, 5 mana in play. So this is still live. Take a draw. Delver of Secrets.
That's a big draw, too. I mean, in this event, Danny has the opportunity to chump block and then maybe chump block the next turn.
There's a Cruise, trigger Young Pyromancer. 1, 2, 3. Price of Progress, Treasure Cruise, Brainstorm. Battle Stations. In for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points of damage.
Now I think Danny might be done for because he didn't find the land. He has to chump block this turn, and then he can't get a flying blocker into play. He has to kill Joe at 11 life. It's going to be hard to do.
Hard, but not impossible. And Lossett may actually have to consider holding back on defense or casting the Terminus.
We still got Hydro Blast.
Yep.
He's going to 11. Right now, Danny can only attack for... Okay.
That was the draw.
Never mind. That's pretty attractive.
Entreat the Angels. Miracle Style. That'll change some things in a big way. You saw him play around days. Now, his Baneslayer eats the Insectile Aberration. Lossett's going to go up to 11, and the plan that Jessup may have had of forcing through may not work anymore. Though, we must keep in mind that price of progress. The draw, a Delver.
Well, the best case scenario for the price of progress is it generates a draw for Danny because he also has 2 non-basics in play.
Here's a Brainstorm, trigger the Pyromancer. 3 cards coming here for Jessup. Force of Will, Pyroblast, and a Brainstorm. And you see Danny saying, okay, you're going to block these 3 creatures. I can force through 3 points of damage, get you down to 8.
Keep in mind that clock, too.
Yep.
It's going to be a big deal if we get to game 3, which looks very likely.
Brainstorm. Trigger. Resolving. He knows the top 2. The third one is the question. Sulfuric Vortex. A little late to the party.
And Joe still with Hydro Blast at the ready.
Mm-hmm. Two cards going to have to go back. Vortex among them. Might be in Danny's best interest to actually play for a draw here. There are your blocks very quickly. Puts you down to 8. Lose those creatures. Yep, that's going to do it. So it looks like Joe Lossett is going to win game number 2. And with a little under 9 minutes, they're headed to a third one.
Going to be close. Now, the Miracle deck of 4 years ago would have been doomed in this scenario.
Yes.
Now with Baneslayer Angel and Shrink the Angels, there is the hope of Joe winning a fast one.
Hope and a prayer. That's all you can hope for. Player's going to go back to the drawing board here very, very quickly. See Jessup speeding through his deck. Maybe looking to make a change. Lossett doing the exact same thing here. As this is our last round and potentially our last match here of the of the Swiss rounds of our Invitational.
And these players were to get in a position to draw, that really opened up some people at X and 4 who were near the bottom here to maybe sneak on in.
Todd Anderson. He's already won his match. He'd love a draw here. Make life very easy for him. Bradley Yu sitting in 9th place. Philip Braverman sitting in 8th. See what happens. Been a fun one to watch so far. We know 3 players that are in. We got Dylan Donegan. He's the main story of this tournament right now. Sam Black, Jim Davis, they're also in there. Todd Anderson, potentially.
And Dylan maybe going in as the #1 overall seed.
Mm-hmm.
And only needing to win 1 round to make it to the Players' Championship.
Be an incredible story.
I walked up to him in between rounds and asked him if he was going, if he qualified, and he kind of laughed at me.
Yeah.
So we
Oh, I'm going.
It's drivable for him.
Yeah, North Carolina player.
And away we go.
I think we're going to see some speed magic as quickly as you can play Legacy. Lossett taking a look at his hand. Jessup as well. They're going to keep. Here's a Gataxian Probe. Island, Plains, Tarn, a top and entreat, a Vendilion Click, and a Pyroblast here for Lossett.
Fine opening hand. I mean, divining top, that's the most important piece of all of it.
Yeah.
And with the Brainstorm, it is a route to win the game pretty quickly because he already has Entreat in hand.
So there is your Volcanic Island for Jessup off the Flooded Strand. See where he goes from here. A Ponder, no creature. Ponder will resolve an island. All with the Young Pyromancer and a Treasure Cruise. Consult the grip.
Well, that's what he needs. He needs land #2 and he needs a threat.
Keep it, kick it. Lossett's way. Island, top. Love the days. Got to get top off the table. Pyromancer the draw. Well,
Danny
kind of kick it.
Already 4 cards in the graveyard.
Yep. Doesn't take much for this deck to work its way towards Treasure Cruise. Lossett with a Scalding Tarn. Gonna sacrifice that. Time to search. Now that he's seen at least 1 copy of Price of Progress, he just have to be a little bit wary of what lands he does search up.
But on the other side, I don't think he can function off of Island.
Yeah, nor do I. We'll get a Volcanic. This is a counterbalance. That's Pyroblast. Jessup will draw. Treasure Cruise. Young Pyromancer comes down. You see Danny's hand. 2 Treasure Cruises, a Probe, and a Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, I mean, he's cruising next turn.
Yep. There's the grip. Terminus and Treat. Pyroblast with an Endilion Click and a Plains.
A bit of a mess.
Yeah.
A lot was riding on that Divining Top to smooth this out.
Miracles has these ugly draws sometimes. It just happens. There's a V-Click. See what's going to target himself. Bye-bye and Treat.
He's got to clean up his hand. He's got to draw towards action. A sweeper, Divining Top, something.
Just wanted to make sure it was resolved. Young Pyromancer the draw here. Bolt to clear the way, trigger the Pyromancer.
7th card in the graveyard.
Well, now there's only 1. And it's a Treasure Cruise, unfortunately, for Lossett. Trigger the Pyromancer yet again. 3 cards coming. Brainstorm, Swift Spear, Force of Will among them. Time for beatdowns. Lossett's down to 16. Jessup has to love how this game's going. It's running into 4 minutes.
For sure. I mean, this is a fast kill.
Counterbalance to draw. There's a Flooded Strand. This is a counterbalance. Do you let this resolve is the question.
I almost feel like you have to because so much of Danny's hand is locked out in the event that there's even a Brainstorm in Joe's hand at some point, much less a Divining Top.
Forcible moving Brainstorm here for Jessup. That'll take care of the counterbalance. We're heading back Jessup's way. You saw another elemental token come into play for Young Pyromancer. Jessup will draw. It's a Bloodstained Mire.
And Danny already approaching being able to cast the 2nd Treasure Cruise in his hands.
Bloodstained Mire would be card number 3. Ponder would be card number 4. There is Ponder. Trigger Pyromancer. Take a look at a Swift Spear, a Flusterstorm, and a Delver's Secrets. Taking a look at those cards, I may have some interest in shuffling there.
I don't mind taking the Flusterstorm here, but I think Danny's going to do a full shuffle.
Not sold that's going to get the job done. I think the way that Danny loses this game is probably Miracled Terminus, or at least brings the game back to parity.
Sure.
Take a draw. That's not bad. Price of Progress.
Price of Progress, even for 2, probably better than a Flusterstorm in this spot.
I think so. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points of damage. So that kind of go down to 10. I like playing nothing but passing the turn there. The set will draw. Not a miracle.
I mean, his hand is just a mess. It's Wear Tear, Pyroblast.
Yep. Those 1-0s that can play a big role. You know, Wear Tear against Sulfuric Vortex, for example, but not right now. It's attack time. Get you for 7, push you to 3.
Now Price of Progress is lethal.
Yeah. He's got Counterspell backup, too, with Pyroblast to take care of a blue Counterspell.
Like I said, I think these new iterations of Delver, Joe's still got game. He can still make it some tough games, but I don't think he's over the 50% line anymore in this matchup.
Not like he used to be.
Before, it used to be, can you beat 12 creatures? Now, you got to be able to beat Ancestral Recall happening periodically as well. It's much harder to do.
Jessup considering Price of Progress here. price of progress, Spell Pierce. Pyroblast. Lossett. Gonna consider playing a Pyroblast. I don't think it does very much.
Yeah, his hand is Wear Tear, Terminus, and Pyroblast. I don't think that's any defense here.
The big issue here for Joe is that he's got 2 non-basics in play. If he sacrifices the Flutter Strain, he takes 1, goes down to 2, and then he would die to the price of progress anyway, and that's what's going to end up happening. Danny Jessup wins this match here over Joe Lossett, 2-1 for Jessup. He was the number 7 seed coming in. He's in the top 8 now.
Very impressive performance, and I think that for some of these builds of miracles, it may be time to go back to the drawing board a little bit.
Perhaps.
I think Joe's got still a huge edge when he's playing against players of a lower caliber, because there's so many places where they can trip up and lose. But when you get to the Invitational, you're playing against these Blue-Red Delver pilots. I don't think the matchup's good anymore, and we've seen Joe now get tripped up by Dylan Donegan, and now Danny Jessup to miss the top 8.